Hi, it's Andrew from partymeeple and welcome to the internet. Today I'd like to talk about a little event I ran in a small bar in an inner city suburb of Perth last week. The idea of partymeeple is to make small games that can go next to a POS terminal in like a cafe or a bookshop or something like that that don't take up a lot of real estate. If you're selling books or you're a newsagent or something and you want to stock board games, you can't stock very many before they take up a lot of space on your shelves. They're like big. They're like bigger, and actually a lot of the boxes are just full of air. They're there to look impressive. Anyway, partymeeple games are small, and so you can have a little display stand next to your point of sale terminal, and people can look at it and go, "Oh, $20 is not too much. I'll have a card game, thanks." Anyway, I was doing a sales pitch to a bottle shop in a suburb called Maylands, and the guy there was like quite positive actually, but unfortunately the bottle shop was about to be pulled down and renovated. And I've been buying wine and beer from this place for a few years actually, and I noticed the stock was getting pretty thin, and they were basically selling stuff down before they just moved out and the place got gutted and renovated. What do they call a bottle shop in your part of the world? It's a place in Australia we call bottle shops places where you buy wine and beer and take it home and drink it. Anyway, at the end of the counter there was another guy who'd been listening to my conversation who, after I thanked the guy for giving me some of his time, said, "Hey, stop a minute. I've got a small bar around the corner and I reckon your stuff would be pretty good in my bar." So I chatted to him for a bit, and one of the things he asked for was I interested in running events? Now, I had recently run an event to launch 60-second cocktail, and that had gone quite well actually. That was a very satisfying, from a designer's point of view especially, a very satisfying thing. So I could have just done that, but I decided I wanted to do something that was themed on the bar. So I designed a roll and write, very simple one, the sort of thing that someone who thinks Monopoly is a board game, or, let's not be judgy, but, would not be confused by. So what's a roll and write? A roll and write is a game where you generate a number, in this case by rolling some dice, and everyone playing the game must add that number to a sheet somewhere with a pencil or a pen. You can't not write the number down, but there are some rules about how you write numbers down, and usually it's a row of boxes. You write numbers in the boxes, like Sudoku style, I guess, not that I've ever done that. And each number has to be bigger than the one before it, left to right. So like if you had a row of say 6 boxes and a 10 was rolled, you'd probably put the number a little bit further to the right so you had room for smaller numbers to the left. When each row of boxes is full, you get the points underneath. And you can add more wrinkles to this by having, for instance, different coloured dice. One of the things I did for this was I made a display. I made a display so people in the bar could see what the number was rolled. Blah, 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 blah. I made a display in the bar so people could see which number I'd rolled. So I would roll the dice and give people some time to think about stuff. And maybe after, say, 10 rolls, I would pause for a little bit. I was playing some tunes off my phone through the PA while we were doing this, like as background music. I would turn that up and people could then talk amongst themselves, go to the bar, go to the toilet, whatever they needed to do. In the Henry's Bar roll and write, you roll the dice 30 times and the person with the most points wins. Or if someone manages to score 16 points, they immediately win. It's pretty simple. Gamers would look at this roll and write and go, meh. But interestingly, it still took me a few goes and a bunch of playtests to get it to where I thought it did its job. So it wasn't quite as straightforward as I thought. In fact, I ended up putting about 2 days into organising everything, building a display, designing the roll and write, pestering people to have a playtest with me. And in the end it was quite good fun. But did it work? No, not really. So the only people that wanted to engage in the little competition were friends of mine and friends of the managers and family of the managers. There were other people in the bar, but we could not get them engaged no matter how we pushed the idea. And I put a $50 Party Meeple voucher up for grabs. The manager had put a $50 bar tab up for grabs and a couple of free cocktails. So there was like $150 worth of prizes, all up, roughly. And even though everyone who was actually just hanging around in the bar on the day were like, it's not really for us. Part of the problem was I think I did a really klutzy job of explaining how it was meant to work. We ran the tournament with a mini game first with just 15 rolls, and we gave away a pair of cocktails. And then we had a break and played some music, and then we ran the main tournament with 30 rolls, and we got to like 24, I think, before, no, about 27, I think, before someone had scored 16 points. And the people that played the game that came along, I think, enjoyed it. The manager's mum was like, I don't like your game. And I'm like, oh, okay. What is it that you don't like? It's too hard putting the numbers down. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then when I spoke to her, I realized she thought you had to start at the left and work your way across. You couldn't just whack a number anywhere, providing it applied to the keep your numbers greater as they go right rule. And once I'd explained it, and then we played the main game, because we had that conversation between the mini game and the main game, she was like, your game is okay. Which always makes me laugh. Anyway, I've made the sheet that I did for the Henry's Bar Roll and Write available on the Party Meeple website. It's basically a PDF format. You can print it out on A4 and cut the A4 in half, and you'll have 2 sheets. The game only takes about maybe 25 minutes to play. Like, it's a pretty simple sheet. And the rules are on the back. There are more wrinkles than just numbers getting bigger as you go right, because that would be a little too simple. But generally, that's all it is. The graphics on the card are from photos that I took of the bar. It's a really cool bar with some great light fittings and a suit of armour. And it has an elopement studio, 1950s style elopement studio upstairs. So like if you need to like elope in a 1950s Las Vegas style, that's the place to go. I'll actually put a link to the Henry's Bar social media in the bottom as well. Anyway, feel free to download the Henry's Bar print and play from the Party Meeple site, or any of my other print and plays. Oh, and while I'm here, shout out to Jan in Holland, who asked me some questions about country trains. It's like one of the first projects I did. It's always lovely getting questions, criticisms, emails from people who have taken the time to look at the stuff that I do. There's, you can obviously buy Castle Poker and 60 Second Cocktail on the Party Meeple store, but there's a lot more games that you can just grab for free if you feel like having a crafternoon with scissors, glue and paper and making yourself a game to play. The ones that I have online are the ones that work. There are obviously many of other ideas that are like partly developed or I just got bored with that aren't online. So if it's actually on my print and play page, then it's a pretty good chance it's a reasonably going concern. But keep your eyes peeled, because more things are popping up, including the sailing game I talked about with the little boat build. That's getting close to being put up there as well. So if you like sailing, especially reading wind shifts and having a little bit of control over that, because that's something really hard to model in a board game, and I think I've done a pretty good job, then keep your eyes peeled. There'll be something coming out in the next few weeks. Thanks for watching. If you haven't, please subscribe, and if you liked it, well, you're still here, so you must have, please click the like button. Thanks for your time.